I call the December 5th, 2017 Riverton City Council Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:46 p.m. The chair would entertain a motion for the consideration of claims.
Madam Chairman, I would recommend that we be paid in the amount of $144,838.70 and payroll and liabilities for 11/22/17 and 11/24/17 in the amount of $310,447.91 for a total of $455,286.61.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Does anyone have any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And do we have any further business for tonight? No? All right, then meeting adjourned.
I now call the December 5th, 2017 regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Would Councilmember Bailey ask the pledge, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and after that, Councilmember Larson will give us an indication.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our eternal Heavenly Father, we are thankful for the opportunity to represent and to strive to help Riverton. Father, bless us this night that we might have Thy Spirit to give us guidance, direction, that we might do the best we can for the citizens of Riverton. Father, we're reminded of this time of year. We're thankful for the birth of Thy Son. We say this humbly, name Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Would the city clerk please conduct a roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Lance Scody.
Here.
Councilman Tim Hancock.
Here.
Councilman Mike Bailey. Here. Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilman Sean Peterson.
Here.
Councilwoman Holly Gibbon. Here. Mayor John Baker.
I am present, declare that we have a quorum. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda for this evening with the removal of the second reading of Ordinance 17-028, Eastern Shoshone PUD zoning from the consent agenda to be considered at the December 19th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye and the motion passes. Communications from the floor. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that's already on the agenda will be given an opportunity to speak later on. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourselves for the record.
Hello, my name's Corey Rhoda. Mr. Mayor, council members, last week,
Would you spell your last name for me?
R-O-T as in Thomas, A. So the last meeting we attended, Lance spoke a little bit about the rec center that we're kind of getting put together. We had a meeting last night. I just wanted to come in and kind of touch on that a little bit. So we're working with Lander and a group called Mission Possible. That has a nonprofit organization. They're already pretty close to having a rec center built in Lander, but the goal now is to have a multi-complex. So what we're going to do is create maybe a busing system that can transport people between both of the facilities. We'll offer different activities such as Riverton having a skating rink, Lander having a baseball batting cages inside. So that way we have different appeals. So I just wanted to give you a brief heads up of where we're at on that. Right now we're going to put together a board here to represent Riverton to get the complex going. We're going to do a little bit more data collection. We're going to look at some facilities, see which ones there are in town that we can use if possible. We've looked into Kmart, Walmart, or not Walmart, excuse me, Kmart and Safeway. So we're definitely getting the ball rolling, and it sounds like it's not a question of if, it's more of a question of when right now. So I just want to give you a heads up that that's going to be happening, and hopefully we're going to move with full momentum, and we don't think it's maybe too far out to think that we could have it up and running by next year if we really get after it. So I just wanted to let you all know that's where we were at. Thank you for your time.
Brad, thank you. Consent agenda. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, November 21st, 2017, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, December 5th, 2017, Finance Committee meeting. Approval of the Finance Committee recommendations for December 5th, 2017.
Are there any items that require further discussion?
Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Recommendations from the Finance Committee for bills to be paid in the amount of $144,838.70. Payroll liability for 11/22/17 and 11/24/17 in the amount of $310,447.91 for a total of $455,286.61.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and the motion passes. The next item is a public hearing and first reading for the ordinance number 17-029, vacating an alley adjacent to 1001 West Main Street. Could we get the interim community development director's report, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an alley on the east side of the property located at 1001 West Main by Wyoming Medical Properties. It was dedicated, but it has never been used as an alley. It's only 10 feet wide. What it appears was that the adjoining subdivision was to also grant a 10-foot easement to create a 20-foot alley. That never happened. So there lies a 10-foot easement on this property. In the future, they'd like to expand, and they need to meet the off-street parking requirements, and they would like to vacate the alley. We will require that there still be an easement where that 10-foot property lies, but the alley portion of it would go away.
Thank you. Would the city clerk please read ordinance 17-029 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 17-029 on first reading, an ordinance vacating a 10-foot alley on the east side of lots 1 and 2, Bonnie Bray addition to the city of Riverton, Wyoming.
Chair would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Your Honor, make a motion, we open the public hearing.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we open the public hearing. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and the motion passes. I now declare the public hearing to be open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourselves for the record. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this issue? There being no others to speak, Chair would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we close public hearing. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and the motion passed. I now declare the public hearing to be closed. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 17-029 on first reading.
Your Honor, I would move that we adopt ordinance number 17-029 on first reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor?
Your Honor, I want, just curious, as far as the process of a quitclaim, this is currently city property that we quitclaim to the current owners that are making the petition?
Your Honor,
Go ahead.
Mr. Godey, what this is on the plat. This is on the recorded plat, and it's 10-foot alley utility easement. So it's not, it's just an easement granted to the city, yes, for the purpose of an alley. A 10-foot alley does not do us any good. It's too narrow. So we would still require the easement portion of it for utilities. There is a power pole located in this easement. It has guy wire supporting the pole, and that would be the other reason to require this, and they would quit claim it back as an easement to us.
So I guess so who owns it? Who owns what is being vacated now?
Your Honor. Mr. Godey, so right now, it does belong, it's a City of Riverton right-of-way.
Okay.
And so, but once we vacate it, then it's still their property. It always has been their property. We just have an easement across it.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and the motion passes. The next item is bid award, police vehicles. Could we get a report from the sanitation fleet supervisor, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. Put my glasses on this time so I can see what I'm talking about. Before you tonight, Council, as you recall, during your budget preparation this past spring, the council approved $104,000 for the purchase and equipping of 2 new police vehicles for the police department. Total budget for that project was $104,000. Statute requires that any vehicle purchase has to be let out for bid. The only caveat to that is there is a clause called the Governmental Entities Cooperative Purchasing Clause, which allows municipalities such as Riverton to basically piggyback off of a bid from, in this case, the Wyoming Department of Transportation. What that does is it drops the price down enough to where, with the state highway patrol buying multiple vehicles, it drove the price down to where it was much more affordable for the city of Riverton to piggyback off this bid. The great thing about it is that Fremont Motors Chevy dealership here in Riverton was the low bidder statewide. Right now, we're looking at $35,000 or $35,742.35 for each vehicle. To upfit those vehicles, my estimates right now are between $12,000 to $14,000, which would take the total project, at my highest estimate, to $99,484.70, or a savings of $45,530. I really anticipate that it's going to come in lower than that even, but to be safe, I shot that highball figure at you.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I would move that we approve the purchase of the 2 police vehicles to Fremont Chevrolet for $35,742.35 per vehicle.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, do we need to add on the additional upgrades? Because we sat through the budget and we talked about how much it would be for the vehicle. Then it's to have it upgraded. If I'm speaking correctly, or correct me, but it has to be upgraded with all the equipment. So does that all need to be put into that?
Well, a bid is just for those 2 vehicles.
So then are we going to have to do this again for the upgrade packages, or do we do it all at once?
No, the city's fiscal policy provides the city administrator the ability, the money's already allocated. We're not going to exceed that amount, that total budget.
Okay.
In fact, we will come in under, but
Okay.
Okay, so our policy is to bid the vehicle, but the rest of the stuff comes in underneath, is it $30,000?
I believe it's $35,000.
$35,000. Okay, so then that doesn't need to go out to bid. So then the council wouldn't have to actually act on that. Instead of that, we've got faith that the staff is going to get us the best deal. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, and the motion passes. The next item is capital project plan discussion. City Administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. During last year's budget, some of the notes and some of the, that I have found and some of the conversations revolved around the desire for a 5-year capital plan or a long-term capital plan. In order to get that started now, so that we may use it as part of our budget process, I've prepared what amounts to some examples for council's consideration to make sure that what we're doing, what our intent is to do with regard to format is proper and provides you the information that you want. If you would just move to the spreadsheets that I provided, I can walk through it really quickly, and then I would love to hear any input or feedback or desires that you have with regard to its development. Once developed and once you've provided feedback or told us that this is what you want, we will then actually make the full capital plan that for each department, both equipment and improvements alike, for 5 years out, and then present that as part of our budget process. The reason that we do it this way right now is that the amount of work and linking within that spreadsheet so that we can present it and make it work for you takes all the department heads a little bit of time, and we don't want to do it and then be just completely wrong and have to start back over. The first page you have has multiple colors, green, blue, yellow, and green, blue, and yellow. This is an example of a capital improvement sheet. The capital improvement sheet would cover projects such as large improvements, new buildings, and the like, anything that if you turn the room upside down wouldn't fall out, if you will. These items usually have engineering associated with them. As such, we've provided a format, keeping in mind that these numbers are not legitimate, they're for demonstration purposes. We would provide a format that allows you to see not only the project, but also the engineering. Some of these you'll notice that engineering predates the actual project. This is pretty common with these type of improvements. Obviously, we're going to engineer North Federal long before we actually break ground. So you would have expenditures in different years. This allows you to see your expenditures and break out engineering separately, which is one of the larger line items with capital projects. Those things at the very bottom of each of the departments, i.e. treatment or distribution in this case, you're allowed to see that the engineering and project totals are separated with the total amount provided in each. And then at the very bottom of the page, the entire fund is totaled for your consideration. The second page provides basically a very simple way to look at your capital expenditures over many years. The reason that we do this as part of a capital plan is so everybody can look in a visual way or using a visual tool how money is being distributed over multiple years. In this case, this was set up to illustrate that in future years you're going to have less expenditures, but your front years being 2017, 18, and 19 all show large expenditures. This would give everybody the opportunity to consider pushing items out, rearranging items to stabilize that expenditure trend, trying to keep it even so we don't have large influxes. That's one of the larger reasons why you would do something like this, is to control it over multiple years. The next page is an example of a capital equipment fund. Vehicles like we bid on tonight would be put into this, and you would be able to see a replacement schedule. In this case, we added a 4-year replacement schedule just to illustrate how that would look. So you'll have 1 year, and then 4 years later you have it again. You would have different items, such everything from vehicles to large capital expenditures that don't really fall within operational. Also, you would have it based on the overall department, in this case the police department, with it broken up as dispatch and patrol, allowing you to see the different expenditures within the different departments. Moving to the next page, which is the graph that illustrates it. This was set up a particular way to show you that on the front end you didn't have a large amount of expenditures. You in 17, 18, and 19, and 20, those trends go down, but all of a sudden it spikes in 2021. This provides council and staff the ability to plan for long-term capital expenditures in advance of those large expenditures. So in this time period, you're not spending as much, but it would still be a good time to put away money with the anticipation of the 2021 and 2022 years. Again, stabilization of expenditures. All of these pages, all of these examples would, of course, be put together for each department. So each department would have these. Water would have them, treatment would have them, police department would have them as needed. Then we go into our summary pages, which are the ones with the pie graphs. Those are simply meant to illustrate how we spend money year to year comparatively. In this case, you'll see in 17, you'd see a 25% expenditure within the general fund, where in 18, you're planning a 17%. This is simply, again, meant to show you comparative years and how you're consistently spending money and where the spikes are overall. The following pages are, of course, meant to do the exact same thing and give general summaries within each fund, allowing you to look at the overall expenditures within the community. And our intent in this overall process was to provide not only transparency, but also the ability to plan. That was our intent in providing it in this manner. So you would that's the short version of it, as fast as I could go over our time. The page that you have here, one of the things that is going to be important to this is the information that is provided for the projects. The last page is the application, which was developed by Megan, actually, and she did a very good job. But this is actually within a PDF that has drop-down menus that allows each project to have that detail in there. So whichever fund it is in, it has a drop-down menu, and the department head can look at an improvement to a water facility or improvement to a street. And then they can fill this out. They can provide associated documents, i.e. pictures, aerial maps, that provide council and the rest of the staff the ability to look at the project at the time of adoption and consider it and ask all the pertinent questions. So all of these would be included as part of an actual budget packet once it is presented to council and what it is considered. That's the very shortest version I could do of that. If at this point I've given you a general overview, I would stand for any questions or any comments that you might have.
Council, any questions?
Mr. Tolstead, Mayor. So this worksheet, this the last page, would this then be something that would be presented to council when we'd be considering capital projects then?
Your Honor. Yes, all of these worksheets, everything that you see here would be part of your capital planning process that would be integrated within the budget. So you would be able to see not only what is being asked for in the year that you're discussing, so in the coming year, fiscal year 19, you would also be able to see what's coming in 20, 21, 22, 23. That way you would have more of an understanding about what's on the horizon. If I answered your question.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding what we're looking at here, and it seems very helpful with for example, being able to look at the justification for it, alternatives, impact of not purchasing the equipment, that kind of thing. This sort of information would be very helpful to have and a very quick way to access it.
And so then we would be going through this during the budgeting process, right?
Your Honor, yes, that is correct. This would be part of your budgeting process where, of course, your budget department heads will present their request along with the administrator recommendation. This would be part of that says they're requesting this number of cars, and here are the cars they're requesting. They're requesting this capital improvement, and here's the detail. So you can consider that prior to, as you're reviewing your actual budget requests.
Kyle?
For not argumentative, but would there be possibility of adding a previous year to see the difference or the percent change in you've got fiscal 2017, 18, 19, and we're looking at the same project or a continuation of a project. Would we be able to have it so that if the project, if federal was going on right now, we would have something that started in 16 when we started budgeting for it. Could we see the accumulation of costs during that period of time?
Your Honor?
Go ahead.
If I understand your question correctly, you're asking if we can see the previous items in those, for those particular projects, and the answer is yes, we can, and that is intended. We're in fiscal year 18 currently, which is why we put fiscal year 17 on here, so there would be some reference. We can do that in two ways. We can show you the last year or last 2 years, but we can also say, okay, previous 3, and just sum them up in that category, depending on what is more appropriate at the time. Your example of North Federal is appropriate because you're going to do it over a certain time, over a time period where you would want to see what you've been spending and now what you're going to see. Those would not be actual, those would be budgeted numbers, but we would intend to do that.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lance?
Your Honor, Mr. Tolstead, is this intended to match up with a strategic plan as well, so that as we have items in a strategic plan that we're planning for, that essentially we're trying to project the expenses, the budget necessary for those plans as we implement them? Is that also part of this process, I guess?
Your Honor?
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. The intent of this is to allow you to line it up with any capital plan, with any initiative that you would have, any initiative that council adopts, such as either a long-term capital plan or as a master plan or a strategic plan. All of those can be put in here. So if something is, we want to improve Park A, and we want to add ball fields and a soccer field, then we could say, okay, here's the engineering in 2018, here's the first year construction and second year construction,
right,
and that lines up.
Right.
We can denote those if you want as strategic plan items by things like highlighting or asterisks, but those are usually lined up, and it does help to actually line up when you have a plan like that.
Definitely. And my experience at the college, we do something very similar to this. We're funded on a biannual basis, so we're projecting not only the current 2 years, but the 2 years ahead of that biennium. And so it's very similar, and we're tying those things to our strategic plan. So as we're, trying to guess and project what staffing needs, what programs are coming, we're doing the same thing at the city, is that we're developing a plan that matches our budget and vice versa, creating a budget to match our plan. So makes good sense.
Your Honor?
Go ahead.
If I may add one thing, this is meant to change. It does change every year. It does give you the ability to plan multiple years, but it is no way meant to be a stagnant document.
Right.
As we go through different plans, as we update a strategic plan or the like, priorities may change, and that's the point of this, is to say, what are we moving and what are we adding, or what are we pushing out, or what are we moving forward? You would also have to update this for cost on an ongoing basis. If you plan for a road project and 5 years later it's going to be there, you might want to get a new estimate. We always do that anyway, but it's just another planning item.
Mr. Peter.
Your Honor, I'm sitting here looking over this, and I think this is going to be a valuable tool. As somebody who sat through the work process with all the department heads and with Courtney and stuff like that, a lot of the discussion was, and I use the police department since we did the cars, is, I want 4 cars. Well, we can't afford it. I want 1. Well, we can, let's take a look at it. So this way, it kind of gives a nice little roadmap to where we can go and how we can do this to have something set up. And I think it's something that we talked about. I just don't know if it came to fruition in our conversation, but this, I think, is going to be a very helpful document, especially for us in the council who get involved with that and set through it again, that we'll be able to look at this and say, okay, this is, and everything we talked about during all the interviews for everybody, it was one of the things that was always brought up was a capital improvement plan or a long range or something like that. So this is a good document. I like it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you're right on, I think you're right on track. I can see kind of what Lance was talking about is that maybe there's a place, this is capital improvements, but maybe there's a place to look at staffing issues, that if we're going to change the direction that we're going, maybe we need to have additional personnel or fewer personnel in one department and some in a different one. And so this would give you an opportunity to move that around, see what that looked like into the future. So we could kind of have an operational plan as well. I don't know if that's quite as tangible as going out after capital, a capital project, but at the same time, it might help us to identify staffing needs that we'd need to consider.
Your Honor, if I may, one of the items within the sheet that we provide for when something is requested is a section that deals with additional cost, additional ongoing operational cost, for exactly the same reason that you've requested. So I would agree with you that it does, the idea of tracking long-term HR costs is going to be important as we move forward. Those are your largest costs on an ongoing basis. So it makes good sense to take your recommendation and make it part of it.
Okay. So then the only other comment that I have, counsel, is don't get frustrated by this, because we'll have a long-term spending plan, but we have to realize that every year our budget is actually limited by the amount of money that we have to work with. And so that'll mean when we go back to this, we may not be able to actually carry out this plan the way we've got it written down. We'll have to push some things into the next year, or get rid of them entirely and say we can't afford to do that anymore. So, but it's a good place for us to start that discussion, and certainly should give us a lot of opportunity to plan into the future and do a better job of managing the dollars that we do have. Thanks for your work on this, Tony. I think it's great.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Council committee reports, council members roundtable. Ms. Gibbon, you got anything for us tonight?
Yeah, so last night I had the opportunity to come to the recreation, or the rec center meeting, and I ended up bouncing back and forth between that and the Fremont County School District number 25 rec board. We paid bills, and then just a reminder that on Monday the 18th at 6 o'clock at central office, all the application, or no, sorry, the 8th, yeah, good job. All the applications have to be in order to be able to get grant money for this next year. So if you go on, it's not updated yet, it should be, hopefully by this Friday, the fremont25.k12.wi.us or the rec center's websites, and you guys can download the grant applications. And then I wanted to give a big shout out to Brian Eggleston, Eric Murphy, and Tony for their help. There was a situation this last week with a lady that she had some garbage issue that wasn't hers, and they really stepped up the customer service. And I think that sometimes we forget that it's really easy to just pick up a phone, say, yep, we'll get to it, and we hang up, and we kind of forget that people aren't just a number. And so thank you so much, guys, for making sure that you actually had face-to-face conversations with her. I think that it really means a lot to her, and it meant a lot to me that you guys were on top of it so fast. I know that to some people, it's just garbage, but if it was us, how would we want to be treated? And I'm a true believer that you treat people the way you want to be treated, so thank you so much. And then tomorrow's the Region 4 meeting in Casper, so.
Okay.
And I'm driving.
And you.
And Tony's praying. Tony's praying.
And that's it.
Okay. Sean, anything?
Yeah, so I know there was a lot of talk about the Safeway closing and all the stuff that happened over there, and I have my own opinions about that, and I'll leave those to myself, but I do want to give a nice shout out to Robin in the store, Smith store here. They've really swallowed in quite a few of the employees from over there, and they've been very helpful in trying to help the ones that wanted to continue to work. They offered them a job. Some went over to Lander, but they took on quite a few, and they've really stepped up their service and stuff like that, and their performance with trying to help out the community with the Safeway closing, because nobody saw it coming. So Robin and the crew up there at Smith's has really done a good job. So it's been nice seeing the way that they've kind of stepped up and helped out. And then for Mr. Butterfield, kind of a funny note that plowing to the center has really been great. I've had 3 opportunities to do public service by pushing the little old ladies that are stuck in the middle that can't get out of there with their car. I've had the chance to stop my big Coke truck and push them out the way so I can get to where I need to be. So thanks for the opportunity to do a little public service and help out. So it's been great. You don't have to say anything, Kyle, just smile. That's all I got, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Larson.
I attended the waste management in Lander, and for the last several months, I've been wondering, on the question, how much money do we have to accumulate? They have about $12 million, and the figure came up between 17 and 19 million, so they're still working on it. And we had a test last week, or the first of our snowstorms, and contrary to some people, I really did appreciate the snow being in the middle of the road. Down Forest, down 16th, down Sunset, I thought it was fine, and I thought those road patrol graders did a good job, and I appreciate City of Riverton listening to the public and doing what their employers want them to do. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Bailey?
Again, I had the opportunity to attend the Fremont County Recreation Center meeting that we had last night. And again, it's really nice to see a lot of good public input and see people come together and, figure out solutions to problems that we see and things that we need in the community. So it was really nice to see the public get involved, and they're moving forward. And so I think it's a great cause for us to watch as it moves forward in that process. I also got to attend the Riverton Airport Board meeting. We were up at the airport this time, and again, Kyle went over, and Paul with the airport went over some stats for the airport, and again, things are still looking pretty well. Hopefully we get our radio fixed. That slowed us down today, it sounds like, but everything's moving forward to the airport. We got to check out all the equipment that they've got up there, and we've got a new snowplow coming, and so again, they're ready for the year. And again, I would commend the city on getting out there and getting the snow plowed. This was an interesting little storm. It was more ice than snow, and so I think that made it really challenging, but the streets are looking really good. I think if you got stuck in this windrow, you're in trouble for the rest of the winters. Thank you.
You need some new tires.
Yeah, you need some new tires.
I don't have anything, Your Honor.
Nothing? Mr. Cody?
Just to beat a dead horse, I was also at the rec center. The bad thing about being the last guy in the row, and did very much want to just appreciate everyone coming. There was a great turnout. Practically this entire area was completely full, and I really see us moving forward, and I look forward to being a part of that. I also wanted to send on some appreciation to the police department and Tony regarding a constituent of mine that had an experience that was quickly taken care of by both of them, and really appreciate their quick action, and wanted to note that. And I think that's all I have.
So as a follow-up to the rec center thing.
Oh, that's right. You're the last one to have to speak to that.
I do, but let's go ahead. Would the council be amenable to a letter of support to that nonprofit organization that's trying to drive this and make it work. If we had if they had a letter of support from the city of Riverton, that's not a commitment of funding, but it is a letter of support from us that we're interested in the project and we want to participate in it if we can, and that type of thing. Would the council be amenable to that?
Yes, sir.
We need that in a form of a motion?
Let's make a motion that we like the concept, huh?
Can we?
Your Honor, I would move that the Riverton City Council and City Administration write a letter in support of the Fremont County Recreation Center project.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed to that? Good, thank you. So we'll write a letter and send it to them, okay? That's terrific. This is a really interesting thing. If you think about what's happened to us over the last 20 years, I guess, we've seen two property sales tax initiatives voted down to try to build a rec center. Okay, and so I think the message is pretty strong that people don't want to pay any extra taxes to get there. And here comes a nonprofit organization that says we can put together a rec center, okay, and we can make it work. And so if we want to pull that together, so that's the same model that basically got us a skate park and a splash pad. And so I'm excited about that. It turns it over to somebody else to do, but they're not encumbered by the problems that are associated with public funding and all that kind of thing. And I think they'll be able to put something together for Riverton in a fairly short period of time, and you can hang a sign on it, and people and it'll be a commercial endeavor. And the folks that really want to participate in that will have memberships and participate and do what they want to do. And it sounded to me like they have no desire in competing with the existing facilities like Ironworks, or they want to provide things that they're not doing. So it looked like there was a lot of interest for hockey facility here in Riverton. We've sort of got one right now, but they're looking at something that would be considerably expanded beyond that. And so it's pretty interesting to me to see this start out and to develop. And, probably won't, if it gets, some of it will get started next year. And then over time, we'll add more and more things to it as the support for those programs increases. So I think it's a really good idea. And so we'll let Tony write the letter and I'll sign it.
Your Honor, I think only one thing to add is I was really impressed with the Mission Possible's approach, that really the goal is to look at this as not a Riverton project or a Lander project, but as a county project.
Wasn't that fun?
And I think that that really is the key to the success of this, is in all of us, even though Lander City Council has already supported it, Riverton Council is supporting it. That's great, but I think we need to understand that this is a county-wide project. And so the less we call it a Riverton Center, but a multi-complex center. So yes, there's a Riverton campus, there's a Lander campus, but hopefully, and they've talked about this, is that looking at other projects throughout the county to make a county-wide recreation center complex is, I think that's how it's going to really be successful.
So not all under one roof.
Right.
But still a great variety of activities to be involved in, and we've already got the bus service, the WRTA. They are flexible. They can do, they run a route, but if somebody says, hey, this is where we need the bus to be today, they'll say, we'll have a bus there. So I think this is terrific. I think this is going to be really good for Riverton. Okay. City Administrator's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Other than attending the WAM meeting, and again, the rec meeting. Again, I think my thunder is pretty much good and spent here, so I did want to say thank you very much to the rest of the city staff. It was noted twice today about the quick response, and that's all due to the work that they do and their direct response and getting out in front of people. It's been quite impressive to watch them work, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, my comments are I think I talked about the rec thing, and we did that. And then we're leaving tomorrow at like almost 1 o'clock, 1:45, something like that. I'll be here. Who else is going? You, me, 3 of us? Okay.
We'll say a prayer for you guys.
Okay, that'll be really helpful for us. Thank you, Sean. I'm appreciative of that.
You guys are so funny.
As long as I don't have to drive,
Work.
I am tickled to death. So as long as I don't have to drive, I'm tickled to death. So we don't have an exec session. Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all opposed, or all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Or is there anybody that's opposed? And we're done at 7:44.